Hi guys, hope you're having a good week so far. Today I want to talk about Diablo 4 in general and how to actually have fun in the game. It may be a particularly strange topic to cover, but with all the hate and resentment voiced online about Diablo 4 recently, I feel that this topic may actually be fitting to express my thoughts on at this point in time. Just to preface everything from here, none of my thoughts here today is intended to diminish any conversations around the legitimate problems that are currently present in Diablo 4. But at the same time, there are certain obstacles in the game itself as well as the conversations that are surrounding it that may be hampering your ability to enjoy the game that you can overcome. So my first point is about copying meta builds. I perfectly understand people's desire to copy other people's theory crafted meta builds in order to get ahead and excel in the game. And notwithstanding that there are people out there that have good reasons to play Diablo 4 just to rush to the end as quickly as possible. A core part of experiencing a game like Diablo 4 is actually coming up with your own builds by doing your own research into the character classes and their skills, legendary aspects and paragon boards, and then pulling these elements together into a single coherent build. This process gives you a richer understanding of the class and build that you want to play, and also equips you with the knowledge needed to adapt your build if your progression ends up slowing down or goes a little off course. If you're a brand new player and you copy a meta build to roll with, without having looked into the character class yourself, at best, you're robbing yourself of the discovery process that you go through when you try to make your own build, and at worst, you're rolling a character that doesn't align with the playstyle that you hope to experience in the game and may make you wonder why you picked up the game at all. At this point, I've only played rogues, like 6 of them, and I've never touched any other character class. If I were to decide to play a sorceress tomorrow, I would 100% try to come up with my own build first based on the fantasy or playstyle I want to play, over following another build. That's not to say that you shouldn't use other people's builds as part of your discovery, but try to use these builds as inputs into your final build. Or at the very least, try to understand what the playstyle of the build is and determine if it's a right fit for you. My next point is about item maintenance. Items are a large part of Diablo 4 or any other ARPG game. So while items are essential in Diablo 4 to progress in the game, they're also a huge time sink as well, which in the context of say a level 100 race, take away time that you could be spending gaining more levels, upgrading your glyphs, and subsequently finding more items. As the saying goes, town is lava, and this idea also extends into item management. The goal is to minimize the time that you spend inspecting, comparing and fiddling with items and taking the items to blacksmith, jeweler or occultist. Not only because these activities slow you down, but also because it's just not fun to do these things. On that note, here are some tips to help you spend less time fiddling with items and more time killing hordes of demons. Number 1, mark loot as junk quickly. Only keep fresh loot that you find that you know are solid or significant item upgrades over your current gear. Avoiding sweating over items that have small percentage points of higher stats over your current gear will save you time and energy and will make you feel less fatigued over time while playing the game. So save your time and energy towards gear that you find that has a 10-20% increase in your overall power and mark everything else as junk to then sell or salvage. Not only this tip will save you time comparing your items, it will also save you gold and materials in the long run when you reserve those for items that are true upgrades to your character. If there comes a time where you're struggling to overcome some specific content, say a difficult capstone boss fight, then only at this point should you put more focus on min-maxing your items. Number 2, don't hoard items in your stash. Only stash away items that you can't use right now, but will 100% use in the future. The items to keep in your stash are perfectly rolled legendary aspects, good rolled rare items or unique items that will fit a potential alt character that you will make later on. If you found decent enough rolls on legendary aspects that will suit your character, extract those aspects at the occultist for later use and keep them in your inventory to save you the stash trip. Conversely, if you find a perfectly rolled aspect that doesn't fit a build that you'll make later on, then just salvage it and move on. You're bound to find another one before you finally change your mind and decide to roll that character anyway. Keeping your stash relatively clean will not only save you time from making many trips to your stash, it will also save you time from needing to maintain your stash or possibly rolling mule characters if your shared stash eventually gets full. Number 3, plan times to do your equipment upgrades. When you find what are more suitable upgrades for your gear, you may be tempted to enchant, imprint, upgrade and socket the item straight away, but try and do these activities at a specific planned time. A good practice that you can run is to do all of your item upgrades at the end of any given play session. For example, I start playing for 3 hours and in the first half hour I find a good bow that I can upgrade to. I keep this bow on the bottom right corner of my inventory so I don't mark it as junk accidentally. I then find 2 more items later on and at the end of the 3rd hour, Prepare the 3 item upgrades all at the same time at the blacksmith, occultist and jeweler before equipping these items ready for my next play session. Doing this not only saves you a lot of time running around town, it also allows you to potentially find even better items during your play session that may be even better than what items you're currently hanging on to, saving you gold and materials that you'd otherwise could have spent on items that get quickly superseded. On to my next point, don't let others dictate how you should play. You might see build videos posted on YouTube or conversations in Discords talking about killing Lilith or clearing tier 100 nightmare dungeons with ease, or people that say you should always do dungeons at a 10 levels above your character level, nothing more and nothing less. Just do content that you want to do based on the goals that you wish to accomplish with your character or your overall play experience in Diablo 4. If you're playing a hardcore character, for example, and you do nightmare dungeons that are too difficult for you, then you'll regret it if you die to something that you would have otherwise been perfectly okay handling on a lower tier nightmare dungeon. And likewise, if you don't care about dying often and you want to push higher tier nightmare dungeons as a challenge, then go ahead and do that. Just be clear in your mind on what goals you wish to accomplish playing Diablo 4 and choose the right characters and playstyle that you think will help you get there. Similarly, don't let others question or make you second guess if you're having fun playing the game. There's a lot of loud rants, opinions and outrage comments that are heavily critical of Diablo 4 right now, and while some of this is well grounded and well articulated, there's a good chunk of it that's just there to just incite negativity and resentment in a player base. If you're for the most part enjoying the game, much like I am, then know that you are enjoying the game and don't let anyone else make you think otherwise. Okay, the last point I want to cover today, mainly for the people that say there's not enough content in Diablo 4, is to make your own content. Again, I'm not saying I disagree with other players' sentiments here. I do think Season 1's content is a little thin, for example. But hear me out here. When players talk about content, they're only viewing it from the lens of what quests, objectives, enemies or bosses are there for me to overcome or complete. However, when it comes to content, what players are really looking for from the perspective of avoiding boredom is actually, how can I maximize my enjoyment in a game that has a finite amount of things to offer? And the answer to that question is to simply experience the same game but in different ways. Take myself for example, I've reached level 100 with one of my characters and I'm now leveling 2 more characters at the same time. One seasonal and one eternal, both that feel and play differently from my previous character, while occasionally at the same time using my level 100 character to do some PvP. Or take for example players like Jim, Lucky, McCalb, V-Truth and other speedrunners in the Diablo 4 speedrunning community that try to optimize their playthroughs of the game and complete various speedruns as their form of enjoyment of Diablo 4. These are things that we all more or less did when we played Diablo 2 pretty much right up until Diablo 4's release. If you're willing to view content outside of the confines of it just being this one static set of things to complete, and start looking at content in terms of exploring ways of being creative and experiencing the game from different angles and perspectives, and not something as something to merely complete but to master, then boredom is something that won't set in for you and the game for you will potentially turn from being a task into being a passion. This sort of philosophy is not something I've adopted for just Diablo 4 or even gaming in general, but something I've incorporated into everywhere I go in life. With this different mindset, even if you eventually decided to move on from Diablo 4 one day, it won't be because of boredom, but rather because you wanted to dedicate your time into something completely new. And with this mindset as well, you would have enjoyed every minute of Diablo 4 more so than if you were to view Diablo 4 as just something to complete. The only thing I'd ask you guys listening to me here right now is to answer this one question truthfully to yourself. Do you enjoy the core gameplay of Diablo 4? In other words, do you enjoy the minute-to-minute combat experience of using the right combinations and sequence of skills, while evading attacks and taking advantage of playing a well-thought-out solid build that you've put together that has the right amount of offensive and defensive capabilities? If you do, then consider my perspective here. And if you don't, then don't push yourself into liking the game and consider moving on at the right time that suits you. Anyway, that's all I wanted to share with you all today. If you've enjoyed listening to what I've had to share, definitely give this video a thumbs up and give me a sub if you'd like to see more of this type of content. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.